During a staff appreciation dinner, my wife didn't realize I was listening from behind the stage curtain. The CEO joked, "I'd give you that promotion if you ditched that deadweight husband." She laughed and said, "Don't worry, he still thinks I love him." My knees buckled. I slipped out quietly before anyone noticed. 2 weeks later, the same CEO opened a gift for me during a board meeting. A silver-framed copy of their chat transcript. "My name's Colby. I'm 47, a project manager at a mid-sized logistics firm in Des Moines, Iowa. My wife, Myra, is 45 and works as an executive assistant to the CEO of a regional marketing company. Let's just call it Breyer and Tate. We've been married 19 years. No kids. Not by choice, but that's a different story. We were at Myra's annual staff appreciation dinner. I never went to these events before because I always felt like a tag-along, but she insisted this year. Said it was important that I see her world. Now I get why. The event was held at the Renaissance Savory Hotel downtown. Fancy enough place, chandeliers, plated meals, little name cards. I wore my only decent suit. I remember adjusting my tie in the mirror of the hotel's guest bathroom thinking, this better be worth the uncomfortable shoes. The evening started out like any corporate gathering. Speeches, awards, inside jokes I didn't get. I mingled politely, sipped on the complimentary Merlot, and watched Myra flit from person to person like a politician. She had that magnetic charm that made everyone feel special. I used to love that about her. Around 8:30, she was called up to the stage to receive a Leadership Excellence Award. Nothing new. She'd been the CEO's favorite for years. He, Elias Tate, mid-50s, charming in a used car salesman kind of way, made a toast about loyalty and performance, with just enough innuendo to make the HR lady wince. As they walked off stage, the band took a break, and most people got up to stretch or head to the bar. I wandered toward the back, just sort of floating, and ended up behind the curtain where catering staff were bustling with trays and prep. That's when I heard it. At first, I wasn't really listening. The voices were muffled, but familiar. Then I heard Myra laugh. Her real laugh, not the polite one. Elias said, "Hell, I'd give you that VP title tomorrow if you ditched that deadweight husband of yours." And she laughed again. Not nervous, not uncomfortable. She replied, "Don't worry, he still thinks I love him." My ears rang. I couldn't move. The laughter felt like it was echoing through my skull. My knees literally buckled. I had to steady myself against a cart of used wine glasses. I didn't wait to hear the rest. I slipped out a side exit, walked 5 blocks to my car, and sat in the dark for over an hour before I could even turn the key. The next morning, I woke up on the couch. Myra had sent a text around 1 a.m. saying, "Where'd you go? Hope everything's okay." I didn't reply. I didn't confront her either, not yet. Over the next 2 weeks, I acted like everything was normal. Routine helped. My job kept me distracted. I played the part of the clueless, average husband, smiling when necessary, making dinner once or twice, watching our favorite shows. But I started noticing the details I'd overlooked for years. How her phone was always face down. How she never left it unattended. How her affection came in short, transactional bursts. How conversations always circled back to her work, Elias, the next big opportunity. And then it clicked. This wasn't new. So, I did what any decent man with a broken heart and access to an IT friend would do. I asked Mitch, a buddy from work, to help me install a keylogger on Myra's laptop. Morally gray? Sure. But she'd already crossed that line. What I found was worse than I imagined. Emails. Flirty. Explicit. Plans to sneak away during company retreats. Screenshots of text messages, late-night banter about imagining life without Colby, and how Elias would have married her years ago if she weren't tied down. She called me comfortable but uninspiring. Said I was a kind man, but not the kind of man who lights fires anymore. What cut deepest wasn't the affair. It was the clarity that she hadn't just fallen out of love. She'd built a new life where I was an accessory, a background character. Now here's the twist. One of the emails was from Elias. He mentioned how no one would believe a bitter husband if I ever found out. How HR has his back. It wasn't just an affair, it was arrogance. They were untouchable. So, I made a plan. I bought a cheap burner phone. I copied their most damning chat, the one where they joked about promoting her if she lost the deadweight. I formatted it nicely, printed it out on high-quality paper, and slipped it into a sleek, silver photo frame. I wrapped it with a bow, wrote, "For your legacy," on the tag, and left it with Myra the morning of their next quarterly board meeting. Then I called in sick and waited. According to a friend of mine who works at Breyer and Tate, let's call her Tara, the scene was biblical. Elias opened the gift in front of the board, expecting some cheesy retirement gag. Instead, he went pale. Myra, who was sitting 2 seats away, immediately tried to grab the frame. The room went quiet. HR was there. The legal counsel asked to take a closer look. By noon, both of them were escorted out. Myra tried to call me 5 times that day. I didn't answer. That evening, she came home early, face streaked with tears, makeup smudged. She tried to explain. Said it was a mistake and that I misunderstood. That she was just trying to survive in a toxic workplace. I asked her one question. When exactly did you stop loving me? She didn't answer. It's been 6 weeks now. The divorce papers are filed. She moved into her sister's condo on the west side. Elias? From what I hear, he's being investigated internally and might lose his stake in the company. As for me, I'm still rebuilding. Some nights are harder than others. But I've started therapy. I've gone back to painting, a hobby I abandoned years ago when Myra said it wasn't productive. I even signed up for a local hiking club. I'm learning that peace isn't about forgiving what's unforgivable. Sometimes, it's just about reclaiming your name, your voice, your place in the story. And this is mine. I guess this is where people come when they're standing at the edge, wondering if they're crazy or if their whole life is just a bad episode of a soap opera. I'm not really good at pouring my life into words, but I need to get this out. Even if no one reads it, maybe writing it down will help me feel less like I'm going insane. My name's Colby. I'm 47. I've lived in Des Moines, Iowa, for most of my life. I work as a project manager for a mid-sized logistics company. Steady job, nothing flashy. My wife, Myra, 45, works for a high-profile regional marketing firm. She's the executive assistant to their CEO, Elias Tate. We've been married for 19 years. No kids, though we tried for a while. We came close once to miscarriage at 12 weeks. That was 10 years ago. Since then, I guess we just buried that part of ourselves under schedules and work and pretending everything was fine. So, 2 months ago, Myra invited me to her company's staff appreciation dinner. That was unusual. Normally she went solo, said it was boring, just work stuff. But this year she was oddly insistent. You should come this time, she said while folding laundry. You never really see my world. I want you to be there. Something about the way she said that stuck with me. I couldn't quite tell if it was genuine or guilt-driven. But whatever, it had been a while since we'd done anything together that wasn't just dinner and Netflix. So I agreed. The event was at the Renaissance Savory Hotel downtown, one of those classy places with chandeliers and sleek marble floors. Everyone was in business formal attire, drinking wine and talking in that loud corporate way where everyone's pretending to be relaxed, but their eyes are scanning the room for someone more important. I wore my best and only navy blue suit. Myra looked stunning, black dress, hair pinned up, those silver earrings I gave her for our 10th anniversary. The ones she hadn't worn in years. She was electric in that room. I watched her mingle, laugh, lean in closely when someone was talking. You'd never guess she was just an assistant. She owned that space like she was CEO herself. As the night went on, I started to feel like a prop. People would say, "Oh, you're Myra's husband," with that awkward smile that says, "I'm not sure what to say to you." I wandered toward the bar, then toward the side of the ballroom where the curtain backstage was slightly ajar. That's where everything broke. I didn't mean to eavesdrop. I really didn't. I thought I'd just step out of the spotlight for a few minutes, check my phone, maybe text my friend Mitch a joke about how out of place I felt. But then I heard Myra's voice. She was talking to Elias, the CEO. I recognized his voice from earlier speeches. Charismatic guy. That sort of easy confidence that feels both charming and rehearsed. They were laughing. Elias said, "You know, I'd give you that promotion in a heartbeat if you ditched that deadweight husband of yours." There was a pause. I remember my stomach tightening. I expected her to say something like, "Oh, stop it," or "Don't talk about him like that." Instead, she laughed. A real, genuine laugh. Then she said, "Don't worry. He still thinks I love him." That's when it felt like someone reached into my chest and twisted. I froze. I couldn't believe what I'd just heard. It didn't feel real. I replayed her words in my head again and again, hoping I had misheard, misinterpreted, anything but the reality. But no, I stood there behind that curtain, trying not to make a sound, while the world I knew cracked into pieces. Eventually, I managed to slip away. No one noticed. I walked out the side exit, wandered around downtown for a while, and ended up sitting in my car in a parking garage. I didn't even start the engine for an hour. I just sat there, staring at the steering wheel, repeating that one line. He still thinks I love him. I slept on the couch that night. Told Myra I had a migraine. She didn't push. The next 2 weeks were surreal. I didn't confront her. I couldn't. I needed to know the truth first. Was this just a bad joke? A one-time thing? Or was there something more? So I played the part. Loving husband. Quiet, distracted, but not enough to draw suspicion. I paid attention. Watched her closely. Noticed the way she always kept her phone face down. The way she suddenly had more early meetings and late presentations. The way her tone changed when she talked about Elias. There was something there. An energy. An undertone I hadn't noticed before. Then one night while she was in the shower, I checked her laptop. I know, privacy. But by this point, I was unraveling. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't think straight. What I found crushed me. There were emails. Dozens. Some flirty. Some worse. Talk of our little secret. Mentions of hotel rooms during out-of-town conferences. Inside jokes. Him calling her my MVP in and out of the office. She joked about working overtime with him. She'd been cheating. For months. Maybe longer. But what really destroyed me was how casually they talked about me. He's harmless. Still has no clue. He's too comfortable to question anything. That one hit like a slap. I was the dumb, predictable, invisible husband. Furniture. I didn't cry. Not at first. I just closed the laptop, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared at the floor for a long time. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I was going to bury her and Elias in their own words. So I started documenting everything. I went back into her email again a few nights later when she left her laptop open. I took screenshots, full conversations, timestamps, anything that might come in handy. I stored them in a hidden folder on a flash drive I kept in my sock drawer. I even recorded one of their late-night calls. She thought I was asleep. I lay in bed facing the wall, pretending to breathe deeply. Her voice was soft, almost girlish, nothing like the woman I'd come to know over the last few years. She giggled. She said, "He's been so sweet lately. I almost feel bad." And then, after a pause, "Yeah, right." I said almost. My heart didn't even hurt anymore. It was like watching someone vandalize a house you built with your own hands. I was just numb, disconnected, watching it all happen from the outside. I wasn't planning on revenge at first. Honestly, I was just trying to process. But that changed when I found a particular email chain. It was Elias writing to HR about expanding Myra's role. He didn't mention their relationship, of course, but the way he framed it was clear. She was a key asset, someone with unparalleled loyalty. There was even a CC to one of the board members. That's when it hit me. They thought they were untouchable. That arrogance, that smug belief that no one would ever dare challenge them. It lit something inside me. So I decided I'd hit them where it hurt, their reputation. I waited. I played the long game. Myra was gearing up for another quarterly board meeting. She'd been unusually stressed about it, said she was working on Elias's presentation slides, that everything had to be perfect. I knew that was my window. The night before the meeting, I printed out the most damaging part of their conversation. The one from the night of the appreciation dinner. I formatted it into a chat transcript. Her words, his joke, her response. No commentary. Just cold, hard truth. Then I went to Target and bought a silver picture frame. Sleek. Professional. Like something you'd put on your desk to display a photo of your family or some motivational quote. I put the printout in the frame. On a small note tucked into the back, I wrote, "For your legacy." The next morning, I handed it to Myra as she was rushing out the door. "Oh, I almost forgot," I said, keeping my voice calm. "You left this in the car. Thought you might want to take it in." She took it without looking, kissed my cheek, said, "Thanks, babe," and walked out. I didn't go into work that day. I sat at home, sipping coffee that had gone cold an hour earlier, watching the minute hand crawl across the clock. I thought I'd feel triumphant. I didn't. I felt like I was staring into a void. Around 10:43 a.m., my phone lit up. It was Tara, a woman I knew from Myra's company. We weren't close, but she and I had chatted at a few company mixers, and I'd fixed her car battery once in the parking lot of a Walgreens. Her message just said, "What the actual F***K, Colby? What did you do?" I didn't answer. Then she called. I let it ring, but the voicemail transcribed itself on my screen. "They're in the boardroom and Elias just opened your little gift. You have no idea how bad this is. Or maybe you do. HR's freaking out. Myra's crying. What the heck is going on?" I turned off my phone. I sat there in silence for a while. Then I went for a drive. I didn't know where I was going. Just away. I ended up at Gray's Lake, where Myra and I used to walk in our early years. Back when we were still trying to become parents. Back when she still held my hand. I sat on a bench near the water and watched the ducks float by. People walked past me, joggers, old couples, parents pushing strollers. And for the first time in weeks, I let myself cry. Not out of sadness. Not even anger. Just grief. For the life I thought I had. For the years I'd given to someone who saw me as an obstacle. When I finally went home that evening, Myra was already there. She was sitting at the kitchen table, shoulders hunched, face pale. Her eyes were red and puffy, but she wasn't crying anymore. She looked up as I walked in. "What the heck did you do?" she asked, voice low and shaky. "I gave Elias a gift," I said. "Colby, you don't understand what you've done. This could ruin everything." I let out a bitter laugh. "You mean your promotion? Your perfect job? Your affair?" She slammed her hand on the table. "It wasn't supposed to be like this." I stayed silent. She stood up, pacing now, her voice growing louder. It started off as nothing. I didn't plan it. I didn't mean for it to go this far." I looked her in the eye. "But you meant it when you laughed. When you said I still think you love me." That stopped her. She froze. Didn't say anything. Just looked away. I continued, calmly. "You know, the worst part isn't that you cheated. It's that you turned me into a joke. You stood in a room full of your colleagues and laughed at the life we built. At me." She started crying again. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I felt invisible. Like you stopped seeing me years ago. And you couldn't have said something? Instead, you slept with your boss?" I made a mistake. "No," I said. You made a choice. She sat down, defeated. I stood there for a long moment before walking past her to the bedroom. I didn't slam the door. I just closed it gently. I didn't sleep much that night. Just lay there in the dark, listening to the clock tick, feeling the weight of everything crash in. The next few days were a blur. Myra didn't go into work the morning after the boardroom fiasco. She sat at the dining table in the same bathrobe for 2 days, phone buzzing nonstop. A few times I saw the name, Elias, pop up on her screen. She never answered, just stared at the screen like it might explode. I didn't ask questions. I didn't yell. I didn't beg for an explanation. I think that's what unsettled her the most. Can we talk? She asked on the third evening, standing in the hallway like a ghost. Please. I just looked at her. She looked different. Not physically, but stripped of all the things that made her untouchable. The quiet confidence, the aura. It was gone. Now there was just someone I didn't recognize anymore. I don't think there's anything left to say, I replied. That's not fair. Neither was what you did. She stepped closer, almost tentative. It wasn't just about Elias. It wasn't about sleeping with someone else. I've felt alone for a long time, Colby. You come home, eat dinner, watch TV, fall asleep. You don't ask about me anymore. I shook my head. You don't get to spin this like I drove you into his bed. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we've both been drifting. No, I said, my voice calm but cold. You were drifting. I was anchored, waiting for you to come back. She didn't reply. She just sat down on the stairs and buried her face in her hands. Later that night, I found her old overnight bag in the closet. She didn't say anything when she saw me packing it. She didn't ask where I wanted her to go. She already knew. I'll go to Fiona's, she said quietly. Just for a few days. Until you figure out what you want. I zipped the bag. I already figured it out. She stood in the doorway for a long time before she left, like she was waiting for me to stop her. I didn't. After she was gone, the silence in the house felt like an actual presence. Like something had cracked open and everything was leaking out. Memories, years, routines, hopes. I stood in the middle of the living room and looked around. The photos on the wall. The throw blanket she always folded just so. The den on the side of the couch where she always curled up with a book. And I felt empty. But I didn't cry this time. I was past crying. This wasn't sadness. It was something heavier. Something final. A few days later, I got a call from Mitch, my friend from work who helped me with the tech side of things. He'd been watching from the sidelines, offering silent support. He didn't say, I told you so. Just asked how I was holding up. I'm still breathing, I said. That's something, he replied. Then, after a pause, you should know. People are talking about what happened at Breyer and Tate. Myra's name is everywhere. And Elias? He's not CEO anymore. I blinked. What? Board forced him to resign. HR's doing an internal audit. Apparently, this isn't the first time he's crossed a line. I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't feel powerful. I just felt tired. Mitch continued. You lit a fuse, man. But maybe it needed to happen. Maybe it did. The next time I heard from Myra, it was a text. They've suspended me pending review. HR won't return my calls. Elias won't speak to me. It's like I'm radioactive. I didn't reply. What was there to say? She called 3 times that week. I let it go to voicemail. Once, she left a message. I know you hate me. I hate me too. I just want to talk. I want to explain. Please. But she had explained. She explained behind the curtain. She explained in her emails. In her laughter. In her silence when I asked when she stopped loving me. She told me everything. Just not to my face. Then Fiona, Myra's older sister, called me. We weren't close, but she'd always been kind to me. I'm not calling to take sides, she said right away. I just wanted you to know she's not doing well. I stayed quiet. She's not eating. She's barely sleeping. I'm worried about her, Colby. I rubbed my forehead. What do you want me to do with that, Fiona? I don't know. I thought maybe it would matter to you. She made her choices. I know, she said gently. But I also know you loved her. You still do, don't you? That caught me off guard. I wanted to say no. I wanted to sound certain. But the words didn't come. Because the truth is, love doesn't switch off like a light. It lingers. Even when trust is dead. Even when respect is gone. It sticks to your ribs like the echo of a song you don't want to remember. I hung up without answering. That night, I pulled out the old photo album from our honeymoon. Something I hadn't touched in years. We'd gone to Bar Harbor, Maine. Foggy mornings. Lobster rolls. A beat-up rental car that stalled on us in the middle of a hiking trail. We laughed so hard that day. She said it felt like a scene from a romantic comedy. I stared at one photo in particular. She was leaning against me, laughing, her hand on my chest. I remember how warm she felt. How happy I was. How sure. And I realized I didn't know when that version of us had died. Was it after the miscarriage? After I started working longer hours? After she stopped asking me to go dancing? Or was it something slower? 1,000 paper cuts over time that neither of us tended to? Whatever it was gone now. I'm not sure what happens next. She keeps texting. Less now. Just one every few days. Little things like, I saw your truck outside the grocery store. Or, I hope you're eating okay. I haven't responded. Not because I'm angry, but but because I don't know what response she's looking for. Forgiveness? Closure? Another chance? I don't have those answers yet. All I know is that I'm still here. Still getting up every morning. Still breathing. Still trying to figure out what's left of me after all this. And maybe that's the first real step.